Hello, beautiful ladies. Welcome to my channel. For those of you new, this is where I talk about women's health, emotional well-being, and how to combine those two to become your best version. So, today's topic is going to be an interesting one about diabetes and how our mind-body connection affects our health, and also about therapy and life coaching and how those two work together or are related. So let's get into it. I'm so happy to announce we are all 85 subscribers here in the beautiful intuitive community. And I'm just so happy and grateful to be able to share this information with you that I have accumulated over the past decade and more. I've recently come across an interesting topic: what psychological and emotional reasons cause which diseases. And I just find this topic so fascinating because I've been studying health over a decade now and hypnotherapy for a few years. And this knowledge comes from an academy and specifically from a doctor who is also a hypnotherapist. And he was talking specifically about how our emotions and our thoughts. So what happens is when you feel affect diabetes, meaning how they cause diabetes, because it's not solely a physical cause. It's not solely that you don't have enough insulin, you have too high blood sugar. There's actually more behind it. And that's what I want to talk to you about and explain to you how that works. What I've learned is that the pancreas creates two types of cells: the alpha cells and the beta cells. Let's just say you go about your day and negative thoughts come up and you feel stressed. Now your mind knows the difference between being hunted by a bear and being in traffic and just being upset about it, right? Your mind knows the difference. But here's the thing: your body can only feel. And if you feel very similar, tell the cells, okay, we are in a stress situation, meaning we need to take those beta cells that break down insulin, we need them to stop, because we need that glucose, that sugar in our blood, in order to do a fight or flight move. So the body will actually tell your cells to stop working or to stop producing a certain kind of hormone or a certain kind of cell, depending on your environment, depending on how you feel, what you signal the body. Why do we even feel stressed? Why do we even have negative thoughts? We learn how to behave in this world from ages 1 until 7. That's the main time when we basically gather all the needed information in order to survive and to think logically. Because starting from 7, we begin to develop logic, begin to think rationally from all the information we gathered. But before that, ages 1 until 7, we are programmed by our parents. And since we do not have logic, we learn how to behave in this world by the feelings that we have gathered. So these feelings, they get stored, a certain set of feelings about the world, about people, about situations, get stored as programs. For example, I don't know why that boy was mean to me, but it felt unsafe, and so I have to be careful because strangers could hurt me. For example, this is how a set of feelings get transferred into beliefs that we adopt and take into our adult life. Let's take, for example, some extreme feelings of resentment or disgust towards another person. In your childhood, you could have learned that developing these feelings keeps you safe, because that's how the subconscious works. It's always trying to keep you safe. Or perhaps You were not allowed to be a certain way, and now you see that in a different person, and and deep down you feel that longing to be as equally free or to have that quality of the person. But because you're blocked, you were taught no, you can't feel that way, you could be feeling disgust or resentment towards that certain behavior. Either way, whatever you feel towards another person, why it's so important to actually forgive and to let go of resentment or any negative feeling you have towards another person. It's really important to let those go, to actually become aware when they come up in order to change them. You have to imagine each one of us has an energetic shell, right? Our bodies are in our energy field, and that is an egg. And all these eggs are connected. You can imagine like a circle of energy. And whatever you send out to another person, it's gonna come right back and bite you in the ass. And that's why you might have heard of the quote, karma is a bitch, but only if you are. So, that is that energetic bitch that bites you in the ass. I catch myself sometimes thinking negatively about a person or a situation, like in a way that they wanted to wrong me. And whenever I catch myself doing this, what I say is I let go of the guilt, I let go of the resentment, I let go of this distrust, and I send them love. I send them a big heart, I wish them well, and I bless them. What it does is in that moment, it just sets me free to think about other things, and it makes me feel good as well. Because by sending them love, I'm also sending myself love back. It's actually crazy how it works. But when you start practicing this, it becomes more real and clear. Now, I've done a lot of inner work, so these practices are easy for me. I don't hold a lot of guilt or resentment anymore. That's why I always recommend to find a therapist, a hypnotherapist, or just a therapist that you trust to do some intense inner work that will actually work and help you release a lot of negative emotions like resentment, like guilt, like shame, which all get stored in our subconscious from childhood if you have repeatedly experienced those. Or not even repeatedly, sometimes it's just one occurrence that happened. I recently had a hypnotherapy session where it was crazy. It was just, what happened was, as a child, I lived in Moscow for a while back then, and I was just a little girl, maybe 4, 5 years old, and there were a lot of cats, stray cats running around. I have sometimes had 10 cats run right in front of our apartment building. And so what I would do is every time I went out to play, I would take a big cat with me and just hold him in my arms like this and carry him up the stairs to my mom. And she would then, feed the cats, and, I would play for a bit with them until she would set them free. And so one time I was carrying this cat, and all of a sudden I feel like something is moving in his stomach, or something's not right in his body. And so I drop him. And he falls so hard at that moment that I got so scared. And I was like, oh. I felt like, looking back, I never even remembered that moment. But in the session, specifically this moment came up when I was working through guilt, through shame, through safety. Because in that moment, I felt so unsafe, so incapable to bring my new friend home that I actually hurt him. As a child, you don't have this logic that prevents you from thinking otherwise. It was such a shock, and because I experienced it alone, I never shared it with anyone. It got imprinted in my subconscious as an experience, as a negative experience. And so it was really interesting working through it with my therapist. And that's why I know there are a lot of hidden emotions, hidden experiences that need to be worked through for everyone. I can only recommend that you do this inner work with a therapist you trust or with a life coach. I don't see much difference between therapy and life coaching because we go to therapy to fix something in ourselves and essentially in our life. So the goal is clearly similar. The approaches are just different. But if you take even therapy, there are so many different therapy approaches. And that's why it's just important to find one that you can really relate to and that suits you. Also, because essentially to change your life, it's essential that you do a lot of inner work, therapy work. I mean, there are also people who simply want to go to therapy for the purpose of just going to therapy. And I know those types of people are actually very addicted to their suffering because we do get addicted to suffering. Suffering and negative emotions, just like positive, create neurological chains in your brain. Repeating them gives us a feeling of safety, of home, and actually breaking those chains, going into the unknown and building new habits is actually going out of your comfort zone. And not a lot of people are ready for that or truly want that. So those types of people might go to therapy to confirm their current way of living or thinking. I think if anyone wants to go to therapy, it should be for the purpose of bettering themselves and their life. Thank you so much for listening, you guys. I really hope my videos are helping you. If they are, do leave a thank you in the comments and just let me know your experiences. If you have anything to share, I'd love to hear them. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.